Thank you very much. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here in this panel. I think the idea of having a mix between politicians and businesses is a very good one because it gives a perspective and it emphasizes the cooperation needed in order to move forward. Let me try and spend the next few minutes talking about energy. Let's call it energy transition and regionality or interdependencies. I'll start by briefly saying who we are for two reasons. First of all, it's always standard policy practice. We need to promote our company in this event. So, HELLENiQ ENERGY is a company which is roughly about a $15 to $20 billion turnover company. So we have the size to be able to have a view of what is happening. It's a company which is engaged in a number of sectors in the energy chain, from hydrocarbons to power and gas, renewables, and what is a fast-growing segment, which is the sustainable fuels, be it biofuels or hydrogen or synthetic fuels. And we also have presence or business deals with pretty much all of the countries that are represented here. We have in-market presence in 7 countries outside of Greece, and we import either crude or gas from some of the countries represented here, or we export into those countries. Now, you may know HELLENiQ ENERGY as HELLENiQ Petroleum until recently. Today, we're actually less petroleum than we used to be. That's why we changed our name into HELLENiQ ENERGY. Actually, 80% of our capex went behind renewables and power and gas over the last 4 years. And less Hellenic than our name suggests, given that about 60% of our business is outside of Greece. We're not planning to change the Hellenic part of the name, though. So it does give us the ability to be able to comment on the transition and the regionality of energy. So going on to the energy transition, we've seen over the last 15 years a big focus on energy transition, mainly with the angle of the climate crisis. Yeah? And it was right. Clearly, we had to do things in a different way. And moving from environmentally heavier footprints, emphasis on CO2, plus a couple of other emissions as well, but CO2 was the most common one used, to renewables is something that needs to happen. The problem in Europe is that while we design the end state in an ambitious way, broadly correct to be honest, we failed to design the transition from where each country was to that end state. And each country has a different starting point. So Germany has a different starting point. Greece had a different starting point, moving from lignite to renewables. Cyprus, for example, is, until recently, about 85–90% dependent on liquid hydrocarbons for its energy supplies. And what people fail to understand is that even today, 60% of the energy demand is covered by hydrocarbons. So it's not just electrons, which is the energy market. So that transition was not planned as a multivariate system. It was just a climate angle that sort of took precedent over affordability, over security of supply, over sustainability overall. I mean, there is a competition between, having renewables throughout Europe with PVs and having agricultural land, for example. So all of these things were not planned in a holistic way. That means that interdependencies are much more important, and the regionality aspect of energy has recently been escalated, but we need to do more on that. Regionality has to do with in-market grids, which is a problem because moving from few power generation plants to many PV or wind farms has a totally different setup on the grid. It has to do with cross-border energy flows. We know that because hydrocarbons have been the primary source of energy for a number of years. And Greece, with its shipping and refining capacity, has been sending fuels across the region for a number of years. So what we need to do is to recognize and escalate the level of connectivity of the markets so that we are able to work together and get to the end point on the energy transition.